Hello, friends. It's Chapo.
That's for the Patreon folks.
Yeah. I'll be the cat mini series will be coming later, but let's just get into it for the week in the news. And I suppose, okay, so I think the big media story over the weekend was essentially the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sort of like chartering a plane and tricking a group of migrants into getting on the plane and sending them to Martha's Vineyard as sort of a sort of media stunt to I don't know, attack what they regard as like the hypocrisy of liberal states who like are not on the border, and they think that like, hey, if we can just like dump these asylum seekers there, like it'll make some point about like liberal hypocrisy. So I mean, look, we've talked before about Ron DeSantis is like he loves playing to the media hits, and like he loves going to the sort of culture war well to sort of gin up these media moments. But I guess with this one, like I my question is like, what was the ideal thing he was hoping was going to happen here? That they would just like put these migrants in a catapult and just shoot them off the island, or I don't know. What did you guys make of the whole DeSantis Martha's Vineyard thing? Was he just trying to get someone who could hang out with Alan Dershowitz, just like 50 people who've never heard of him before, who wants to hear his talk at the library? I don't. What's going on with this?
Well, I think it sounds like it was almost as if DeSantis was thinking, "Boy, I'll go ahead and show these illegals who want to come in here. We'll go ahead and have them leave Florida, which has a dubious reputation already for Florida man and semi-fascist government, and we'll send it to this place called Martha's Vineyard, where they'll be treated." They'll be treated nice and with compassion. Yeah, that'll teach them to come in here. And there's just so much of a disconnect between, I think, what DeSantis wanted to have happen and what may actually happen. It's just it baffles me that people like him and Governor Abbott in Texas think like that this will solve the immigration problem.
They were actually sent from San Antonio. They weren't even in Florida. It was, I think, just the DeSantis government. They just like they were the ones that
they paid for it. I think.
Yeah, they paid for it. They like chartered a plane, and they were sort of entreated to come on the plane with sort of promises of, I don't know, jobs or help or something, and then they ended up in Martha's Vineyard.
DeSantis, like, I don't know, he seems to have like a similar problem that Tom Cotton or Josh Holloway or any of those guys, any of like the guys running to take over the Trump lane if Trump is like incapacitated in some way, right? That there is an internet-y stench on them, so to speak. It's like if Katie Porter was trying to run for the Democratic nomination now. There are all these things that excite, the national conservative think tank circuit in DC. This is probably something they've posted about. This is probably like a going like meme for them for the past 2 years. Like, send the illegals to Martha's Vineyard. And it seemed like it didn't actually excite anyone in the base. And it sort of went off with a thud. I mean, it would be one thing if, they called private security and turned them away or fucking deported them the moment they got there. But they were prepared to at least have the appearance of not doing that, right? Like, I know that one group set them up in a church and like put them on cots, which is, an interesting thing to do in a place with a lot of vacant homes, but it's better than nothing, I guess. It didn't seem to do what he wanted it to do. And that's one thing. They're not all going to be hits, but that's sort of like DeSantis' only thing, right? Is like doing fucking executive actions and things that fit like the conservative thing of the week.
I think he basically did get what he wanted to get out of it. I mean, like, just the fact that like no one's, it seems like it's already over. But I think what he got out of it was like the headline in the New York Post about like, illegals, sent to Cape Cod. I don't know, like, did you see the Liz Smith thing where she was just like, oh, we played into it yet again, like more right wing bait, like assuming that there was like what was going to be the reaction of the state government of Massachusetts or Martha's Vineyard that wouldn't have engendered some sort of like that New York Post headline.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Is the point was they did it. It's like, LOL, we owned you. You're owned. It doesn't matter how you respond. You've been owned. They don't give a rebuttal to the people on Jackass. Like, what the fuck? You've been punked. It's over for you. You get Jamie Kennedy comes out and there's a big stamp that goes on your face on screen, and then you're played off with like wacky trombone music.
See, I thought that DeSantis got this idea of trafficking humans from his buddy Matt Gaetz, just from his own personal experience. But maybe it was Jamie Kennedy who gave it to him. Well, we have to look at that aspect too.
Have you seen the Jamie Kennedy abortion movie, Dom?
I have not. No.
Oh, it's something. That's a real movie.
They made a Roe versus Wade where Jamie Kennedy plays a Jewish guy, like basically who just like makes women get abortions. A Jewish guy from history, not like one they made up.
Well, this may be the product of my Maryland public school quote unquote indoctrination. But if I remember my geography correctly, like was brought up before, Florida does not border a foreign country at all. There's 4 states that border Mexico: Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. Like New Mexico and California, like their state governments wouldn't do shit like this for obvious reasons. Arizona's kind of leaning blue-ish. It's kind of purple at the moment. They elected 2 Democratic senators in the past couple of election cycles. So really, Texas is the only one that's going gung-ho. It's like it's the appropriate state for it because this seems to be the Alamo of the fight over immigration.
Yeah, that is like the thing that you saw a lot of this week when people are trying to like make this anything. This is a really like limp story of the week that people were trying to squeeze articles out of. But the thing was like, oh, well, like I don't agree with DeSantis, but there's no that. Yeah, I saw that repeatedly. There's no like blue border states, which is just that's like fundamentally, not true.
Another thing about DeSantis, though, like, yeah, you're right. Like he is like he's the plan B right now because like and we can get into this in like a little bit when I want to talk about like Lindsey Graham in a little bit, but like I think the National Republican Party would like nothing better than for Trump to be indicted, or like they want him to go away so that they can defend him and talk about how horrible it is that like they're being oppressed or whatever. But I don't think they don't want to deal with him anymore. And DeSantis is running the Trump model, but not Trump. Matt, we talked about this a little bit on the way the show. I realized though, I had never really heard Ron DeSantis speak.
Oh,
I always saw
Yeah.
photos of him, and I would read like news clips about him. But like, it wasn't until this recent Martha's Vineyard thing that I just saw a clip someone shared of him talking. And I don't know, how shall I put this? I think it is an impediment to his presidential aspirations, Trump aside. How shall I put this? He's got gay voice. He's got
he sounds
gay
he's
voice.
a little fruit of cake. He sounds like he might be sweet as the bear meat.
Are they doing their job and enforcing the law there? No. They're enforcing the law based on who they like and who they don't like. That is not a republic. Well, it may be. It's a banana republic when that happens. So here's the thing.
And he's also short as well.
And
So,
round. He's like grown up Cartman.
He's under 6 feet tall. So I think that puts a damper in his presidential ambitions.
All those reasons, the fact that he is just this goofy looking, zero charisma politician who is where he is and is famous and is a celeb strictly because he's governor of Florida and he can do things like send the migrants to Massachusetts to own the libs. That's why he's famous. It has nothing to do with his actual appeal. That means he is totally at the whim of the party, at the whim of the media in a way that Trump will always be free of. And he can't do anything constructive with that because it's just his pure ego, but it's still something that cannot be fully accounted for. Whereas DeSantis, he has assimilated the Republican Party psychically so that there is like a continuity of interest between the two. Whereas Trump does not have that. And they want to get a guy that powerful off the fucking field.
You did see where he was fangirling over Leonard Skinner some months back, where the 2 surviving brothers, they did that song about how great it was having a governor like Ron DeSantis. I think the song was called Sweet Florida or something like that. It was kind of an update of Sweet Home Alabama. And it was like, it was a really cringe song. It was a really bad follow-up to Sweet Home Alabama. It's like when they made like Airplane 2, Like, it didn't have the writers of the original Airplane. It didn't have Leslie Nielsen, which is why it sucked. And that was
it did have Sonny Bono though.
Oh, okay. Well, I take another Republican. Wait a minute. See what they're trying to do? They're trying to get conservative politics back into pop culture. Even then,
do you think that Sonny Bono would have voted to impeach Trump like after January 6th? Not for like Lev Parnas,
that's an interesting
but like January 6th.
I could see him maybe being a Pelosi or I could see him being a Lynn Cheney style Republican. Yeah. In Palm Springs. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I like, just for DeSantis's gay voice, I do want to like defend him and this concept, right? I don't think it's gay voice. Like, I don't know. Pejoratively, maybe, perhaps. But I think that like that sort of like up talky run-on sentence way that he talks, that's just like the American upper middle class accent. If you were born after like 1973.
That's a good point. That's true.
Which is its own problem for him. You know,
he's faking. He's a faker. At the end of the day, he's a faker. And that is the thing that Trump exposes, but only Trump exposes it. If he's off the field, then there's nobody to draw the contrast. But that, for me, that really does raise the question. Like, if DeSantis gets the nomination somehow, I think he's honestly a worse candidate for them than Trump would have been. Because as much as Trump has like a big millstone around his neck, people know they still see him sort of as like separate from the party of like the Republican Party as such. DeSantis would have none of that. He would just have to stand for the party nude before the people. And I think that would turn some significant percentage of people off.
Tom, you mentioned that Ron DeSantis, he just appeared with the surviving members of Leonard Skinner, and they did a song for him, like "Sweet Home Jacksonville" or something like that.
"Sweet Florida" was the name of the song.
Sweet Florida. Okay, if you're talking about people I'd like to see put on a plane again, it's the surviving members of Leonard Skinner, folks.
Well, you were talking about DeSantis being the plan B for Trump. You know who would like to plan B Ron DeSantis? Charlie Crist, his Democratic opponent for governor of Florida.
How do you like?
Yeah.
How do you like Tan Charlie's chances?
I mean, Florida is one of those states that's just an absolute anathema. Like, we were expecting the big blue wave in 2020 because of all the dumb shit that Trump did over the last 4 years and how reckless he was at handling the pandemic. And then it was just as close as it ever could be. And then we're in Maryland, we're coming off of an 8-year stint of having a Republican governor because we all took it for granted that his 2014 Democratic opponent, Anthony Brown, was going to win because he was leading in just about every single poll by 10 points. And then that was 2014, of course, when Democrats just got creamed across the board. And, you know, the Maryland governor's mansion was that way. So I've learned to give up election predicting and just making really snarky, sometimes rude and quasi-offensive jokes about him.
Amen, brother. That's what we're all about. Yeah. I do think it is something amazing. And really, if you want to understand the Democratic Party in the last 20 years, you can't get better example than the fact that Charlie Crist has already been the Republican governor of Florida. And now he's running to be the Democrat after just like being spit out of one party and then like digested by the other one.
Is it the fact that, though, that's the sign of the way that the Democratic Party is becoming too moderate? Or is it just the fact that the Republican Party is become so batshit? Like you had Charlie Crist now running as a Democrat. You had Arlen Specter switching to Democrat his last couple years in the Senate. You had like Lincoln Chafee, who was the last
moderate Republican.
Yeah. Outside of Susan Collins. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the thing is, people want to put it one or the other. They want to say it's the Democrats' fault for becoming too moderate. It's the Republicans' fault for being extreme. These two things are feed into one another. They can't be disconnected from one another. They are mutually reinforcing, and both sides seeks the other to do that. Like the Democrats want the Republicans to be extreme. They're literally underwriting their extremist candidates because they know that it's to their advantage. And then the Democrats, because they have a different relationship to their base, where they can't give in to the base's actual demands because it goes in conflict with like their owners, the actual party's owners' interests. They have to instead try to moderate and be the less gross alternative to the bipartisan consensus that we are going to dispossess the poorest among us. There's no two ways about it. And if you're near the bottom, you're going to get closer. And if you're in the middle, you're going to fall. And that's just the way things are. And that's both parties agree to that. And the only question is how are we going to culturally process it? And then they move around, but it's all because they have that unbreakable bipartisan deal that we just have to be party to and horrifyingly observe.
And if you keep the status quo in place, the way it is now, then that's really how the both sides can go out. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the Republican Party, as it is now, is like 1,000 times worse than any problems that the Democratic Party is having now, because the Democratic Party, their candidates aren't running to say we're going to overturn elections. That is the Republicans' only platform, is that when we get control of state government, we're going to make it easy for Trump to win. They've all but said that's their goal.
It's true. But the problem is that anything you do to help the Democrats who are in this situation, the thing that checks them, like that's the deal. Everything that helps them as a party furthers the goals of the Republicans. I mean, the Republicans are where they are and are as dangerous they are because of what the Democrats have done in power, how the Democrats run the country and how they run their party. Because the Republicans and the Democrats are playing game theory. They're playing strategy the whole time. They have like an end condition they'd like to seek, but they understand that the game is basically just negotiating. But they react to each other's actions. And the Republicans will advance their interests where there's no resistance. And the Democrats are conditioned at the top to give in to any Republican resistance as a strategy.